I've bought some technology that has thrilled me completely. Now, I know what you're thinking. Another handheld.
Another one.
No.
No?
No. But, on the topic of video games, the Odin 2, for me anyway, it's going to be tough to top. I reach for that a lot more than I reach for the Switch. Just 'cause it's just so... I do think that the online nature of loading your digital games does kind of throw me off a little bit. It does turn me off a little bit. Whereas like having that local SD card ready to go with any game from any point in history is pretty appealing. No. I purchased 2 enterprise-grade printers.
Okay, all right. I didn't expect that.
2025. Okay, so a brief history of printing in my life. I hate printers. Fucking hate them.
Printers. Printers are man's inhumanity in man. I hate printers. They give you nothing but shit.
I work around some people who are, maybe everybody out there can relate. The sorts of people who print out emails. You ever run into one of these people?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They print out the email, and then they have it on their desk, and then somehow the hard copy of the email is a reminder or it's some kind of action item for them. I don't understand the way they're working.
Yeah, my wife used to work at a place where they would print, and this is like pretty recently, like within the last decade, and they would print out everything. Like you would have to print out designs and bring it to people's desks. I'm like, do you work in the 1950s? What is this shit?
I don't need it. I don't need it in my life. But anyway, I don't want to be. To give you an example, if somebody's like, I'll take check, I'm like, no, I don't want to do check. That's like weird paper that I got to fill out. When I encounter a paper-based system, I'm disgusted by it. I can't believe that we're still doing it. It's such a mockery.
I went to the bank and they're like, oh, you're grandfathered into your current account. Do you want to switch to this other account where you'll get like free checks? I'm like, checks? Like,
Free
I don't
checks?
Why don't I do that?
So paper systems suck. I mentioned it, I think, on the last pod, but I did have to go through the process of getting a real Massachusetts ID, real Mass ID. And this is a system that, they're trying, of course, to get to a very electronic system with the real Mass ID. But in the meanwhile, to get there, to bridge the gap, to prove your identity and all the rest of it, it's all paper, like all the fucking way. And so, so the AAA will, in Massachusetts, they'll do some RMV services. So they're trying, the deadline was like May 7th. So, a few weeks ago for, if you want to do domestic travel, you have to have a real ID. And so the things that you needed to print out to bring to get this done, obviously I waited until the last minute. I don't have any flight scheduled either. So I showed up with all my materials and they were like, well, do you have like a flight scheduled or something? And I was like, no, it's just, this is the deadline, right? And they were like, well, we're trying to prioritize people who have flights. I'm like, I have it all right here. How long is it going to take? Can we do it? And they're like, no. And they made me schedule an appointment and come back.
Well, even Anna was getting just getting her license renewed. And everything's backed up because of this real ID thing. Like everybody, and back in the day, you could just go to the RMV, or we call it the RMV, DMV if in your local area.
Right.
But you would just walk in, you could get all your services done. You'd have to probably wait in line to give you a number or something. But now everything's like online. You have to make they're like booking months in advance.
Yeah, but it's like, so you go to, whatever it is, MARMV. Whatever it is, gov.
EDU.
And dot pawn.
Dot clown penis dot fought.
It looks like you're you're booking some major appointment. It's like many months out in advance. But the interface looks like you're booking like a haircut. But no, seriously, the hack here is to go to AAA.
Oh yeah, that's what Anna did. She went to AAA and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't know what I'm doing, and they're like, we'll help you. Like
Skylar White, when she was acting.
I put all the numbers in the Quicken and everything flashed green, so I thought it was good.
When I input everything into the Quicken, nothing flashed red, so that's got to mean it's okay, right?
Like you had to bring your original birth certificate, the original paper, the coffee stained original birth certificate.
That is so funny. I have a coffee stained birth certificate upstairs.
And then, it was like a printout of like maybe a banking statement, a utility bill, a W-2. There was a bunch of stuff to prove your address and kind of like triangulate who you are and prove who you are. And it was funny because I just grabbed PDFs. I was like, okay, you know, an Xfinity PDF, a Bank of America PDF, whatever. I didn't see how many pages they were, and I didn't have a printer. So I went to Staples. We've been talking about Staples lately, which seemed to just as a side tangent, seemed to really capture Jason's imagination. Suddenly now we all want to buy our Switches from Staples.
And it was announced today that Staples will have Switch 2s on launch day. So if you happen to find yourself at Staples returning an Amazon package or maybe printing something for your real ID, you could pick up a Nintendo Switch.
I stepped into a Best Buy the other day. Obviously, the optical media is long gone, Blu-rays and such. But the last time I went, there was some arcade one-ups. There was a lot of toys. There was Legos. There was a Nintendo Switch section. That's all still there, but it's like, it's like down to nothing.
Yep.
And so I'm like, what the fuck is in this place? And it's like laundry machines and TVs. That's it. And I'm like, fuck Best Buy. I don't want to be here. This place used to be fun. Yeah. Now it's like, now the flea market is fun.
Yeah, because, well, you know, I used to go to Best Buy to browse all the DVDs, and they would always have really freaking weird, obscure, like, anime DVDs. Like,
it was great.
It was like I was like, why do they even have this? And it was fun, and obviously physical media is being phased out.
But they would sometimes they have a Mortal Kombat arcade one up. They'd have a Simpsons arcade one up. It was kind of cool to stop by. But now I'm just like, you know what? Fuck you, Best Buy. You got nothing for me.
I'm gonna be picking up the Switch 2 at Best Buy.
All right. We won't talk badly about them. But yeah, so I brought these PDFs to Staples to get them printed, because I don't really have a printer here at home. And I didn't take notice of how many, and so like those invoices and those you know, all the materials I had, like each was like 15 to 20 pages, and the default was color. It ended up being like $15 to print some like and then they just took like the top page for verification. I was like, what do I do with all this fucking $15 worth of paper? Between going there and, you know, having visited Staples recently with Nina and Gloria, I was like, you know, every once in a great while I need to print. And obviously the best thing to do is just go to a Staples or something like that and get it printed there, because it's too rare. But I do print one thing in my life. I print DVDs and Blu-rays to this day. In all of my time producing DVDs and Blu-rays, which I have probably produced thousands, right, over the course of 20 years. Because the first round that I made was with John. He bought this Epson photo printer that you load in a tray, and it prints on a white printable disc. And I remember we had it in our head that we should shrink wrap them. And so he got like the little shrink sleeves, and then like a little hair dryer to, like, you know, lightly blow on it. And yeah, so they were nice. However, applying that kind of heat to the disc,
it's like warped.
We sold a lot of busted DVDs, and we had to sort that out with our customers, you know, 20 years ago. So that was for £10. And then I think I probably did all of the original run of £10 on that printer. It was an Epson. It was probably like a $200 printer. And then I was like, I'm going to replace it with a nice one. And I bought another like $200 printer in 2008, probably 2009, sometime around there, probably. And I've been printing on that printer.
Wow.
The Epson R280 ever since.
Well, that's actually a pretty good lifespan for a printer.
It's pretty good. However, I've been pushing it. I've been trying to make this thing happen long past when it should have not been happening anymore. The thing about photo printers is the ink dries out when you don't use it. So if it just sits there, you end up with like streaky prints, or like it'll print all fucked up, and you'll be like, wait, is it missing yellow? Is it missing magenta? What's wrong exactly?
I shut the fucker off and I turn it back on and it keeps printing this garbage. What is this? I didn't ask for this. Follow these steps? You mean you can't just show it on the screen? What a waste of paper. And besides, what a waste of ink, the thing that's in such jeopardy.
I could be like Universal, or, you know, a lot of Blu-ray manufacturers I don't think they even really do much with the disc anymore. They put the title in black on it, or something. I don't know. But
yeah, I remember there's like some of the DVD runs too. When you got a cheap DVD, it would just have like black letters on it.
Or be like silver with like, you could see the title in like the center. It turned out I was like a boutique Blu-ray seller before there were boutique Blu-ray labels. Basically every time I ran out of stock with the DVDs and Blu-rays, I kind of like felt despair. because I was like, okay, each ink is like, $15 to $20, and there's like 6 of them. And so I'd buy them in bulk, and I'd have a big bag of them. And I would always be reloading those. Even if I had just reloaded it 6 months ago, if 6 months passed and it's time to print again, they'd all dry out. I have to replace them all. You run the printer through like all these like self-test cycles and try to make it print somewhat presentably. And towards the end, like the top was getting kind of gray. And then on the other side of the house is the case inserts. We buy them from professionallabel.com. They're legal, U.S. legal size paper that you can rip out the sides and then it'll be the perfect size. It's hard with the software to get it just so that the spine aligns on the side. You have to waste some expensive paper, basically, figuring out exactly how to get it all aligned. But now I have a template, and so every new Blu-ray goes pretty well. But I learned, like doing those with a photo printer takes forever, and then you run into all the same problems I'm running into with discs. So at some point, probably like 15 years ago, I figured out like, at work they have LaserJet color printers. I can just do this at work. Then I started going into work less often.
Right.
And so then it's like, oh, fuck, like I got to find time today at work, midday at my lunch or something to run to a lab. And they're not cardstock, but they're thick. And legal size it's normally like on a LaserJet printer, like an enterprise LaserJet printer, it'd be like tray 1. So you fold down tray 1 and then feed it. If you try to give it like a big stack of them and let it just run through them, you'll clog the toilet of the printer.
You took a big shit in that printer.
Now you're like repairing somebody else's printer. And I've been a manager there for many years now. And so it's like people will like come into the lab. They're like, Frankie, hi. What are you doing here? And I'm like,
nothing. Just shitting into the printer.
Sorry. Those are like $5,000 printers. And so when those run out of toner, like if I start exhausting their toner, now I'm like costing everybody money, and it got stressful, EJ. It all got to be too much. And then I hear that like printable Blu-ray, commodity Blu-rays are going to go out of manufacturing for a while. So that's I think that last year or some point I was like, maybe I'll stop making these, or maybe it's time to wind down. I don't think so, Tim. If you make independent films, you have a body of work, I think this cool boutique Blu-ray thing is a really good thing for Red Cow Entertainment. And I think I want the infrastructure long-term to make good Blu-rays for everybody. And they sell pretty well. We tend to sell, 100 of them a year or something like that. So it's a lot of, that puts them in a lot of hands. And maybe I'll stamps.com this bitch too, because running to the post office does actually suck.
Yeah.
Everything that those bloggers and podcasters say about running to the post office is true.
Yeah. Running to the post office is a real hassle. That's why you gotta get stamps.com.
Doug Walker does the funniest ones. Never misses an opportunity to do a skit.
Postage rates just increased again. Oh no! Luckily, stamps.com has the best discounts in the industry.
Nina was in San Diego visiting family. Gloria was with her. And I don't know about you, but like when I have the house to myself, which is never, I'm like, what do I want to solve? What problems do I want to solve around this fucking place? And so one of the things I did was I have this giant DVD shelf, and it's become a huge problem. Everything's alphabetized, categorized just so, starting with TV, then alphabetized movies, then Blu-rays. The Blu-rays there's 2 columns of shelves, and the Blu-rays are on the right column bottom. So, and I have the fewest number of Blu-rays relative to the number of DVDs. So if I buy a new Blu-ray, it's not a huge deal to kind of shift everything down to get it sorted in, slotted in to be alphabetized. But God fucking help me if I need to get like a new TV series into that shelf. Because like I'm going to have to move everything down 1 or 2. And then, just the way that the dimensions of the shelf are, like if you have a box set, that could disrupt everything. There's a feng shui of collectors media. Specifically, it was That Guy with the Glasses DVDs that have just been kind of sitting in like an unsorted spot for a while. And then strategically, you want to build in some buffer into, so you want to have some like spatial buffer. So if you expect to buy more South Park on DVD someday, probably you should have some buffer in those seasons. So I had to. The whole thing was very, very troubling. But I had a sweaty, dusty night getting that all sorted, and then I was like, hot dog. I don't want to be running into these fucking problems printing Blu-rays anymore. So I did it. I bought a $650 photo printer. It's the kind that comes with big ass bottles of ink, and you actually dump the bottle of ink into the cart. Yeah. And it's a scanner for whatever that's worth.
Here we go.
It does a bunch. It has like a shitload of trays. You can print all kinds of crazy stuff with this thing. But most importantly, it has the disc tray. And I started printing last night. I got these in last night, and it was perfect. But then I was like, well, what about the case inserts? So I bought a LaserJet printer for my house, which is like a $300
Does
printer.
that also have baby bottles you can put into it?
Well, those have toner, my friend. LaserJet toner. So now that it really is like I'm at like a Staples now in my house. I don't sell the Nintendo Switch, of course,
No,
but
no Amazon return.
no Amazon returns, nothing like that. But yeah, and then I was like, where the hell am I gonna? I don't have a huge house. I'm like, where the hell am I gonna put these printers? But man, we found the perfect spot right there at my little workstation. So, like, shouldn't have any trouble in the future with mass producing more optical media. Should be and the prints should be really, really nice. You can mass produce Blu-rays and DVDs at bulk. They tend to start at about 1,000 units, and I'm not so. Have I like made 1,000 units lifetime? Like probably, but probably not much more than 1,000. I mean, my guess would be somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 lifetime. The problem is that you don't want to overproduce anything. Yeah. Like so, you would. And I've got like 7 volumes of Boxmac. I've got 4 features. I've got like all this. There's lots of different units. So the quantities simply don't make sense. Not across time. I tend to make I'm out of having fun up there. I'll make 7 more, and then they'll sit, and you're not overstocked on anything. Now, something else I ran into was there was a few times where people were like, hey, it's not playing quite right in my Blu-ray or whatever. And I learned that I was using a USB-A port on my computer to burn Blu-rays that is like a power save USB port. And so if idle, or if it thinks it's idle, it will shut the power down on it. And it was completing successfully, but I think it's possible that like there were sectors missed because of like weird power save shit going on. We've solved that problem too. So lots of problems solved. But I went to bed, there's been some stressors in my life lately, professional and whatnot. I went to bed last night like happy as a clam, comfy as a cucumber, because I was like, in the other room are 2 beautiful printers. Who can relate to me on this? When you're like, you make a big purchase, it comes in the giant box with the styrofoam and the huge box, and just disposing of all the shit that it came in is kind of a project. So that was all disposed of cleanly. Everything was where it ought to be. The printers were in place and they were functioning the way that I intended them to function. That's the other thing. Sometimes you make a big investment like that, and you're like, oh fuck, it doesn't do whatever. And the boxes are in the trash now, and and then you're like, I guess I'll just keep it.
It's like it's more of a hassle to return it.
Now that I have the printing capacity that I've never wanted, now I'm like, hey kid, you want to print anything?
Yeah. Do you need a passport?
Yeah, I need a passport. Do you want to like print a little book? Would you like to write a book and print it? So, thinking back on being a kid, I remember I did enjoy, like, I used to print little construction paper characters and cut them out. And,
right.
There's fun to be had with a printer if you're a child, I think.
Yeah, I remember one of the, like, first things I did when we had a printer. It was one of those really slow ones, like, and I drew a sword and it's shitty, like, Amiga paint thing, and it looked like Link's sword, like his first wooden sword in A Legend of Zelda. That's probably what I was going for. And I remember it like probably using all of the ink to print out this sword, and it took like so long.
Even though, yes, I got everything up and running, I do have to say, getting these fuckers set up, even though it's 2025, these are brand new printers. It uses all the new, there's a QR code on the front that shows you how to get the software. One of them shipped with a CD.
What?
I was shocked to see that. Yeah. Yeah, they were, in a little bag with the CD and with the instruction manual. I was like, really? Still?
Where the fuck do I put that?
And Nina was like, do you have to keep that? The little bag with the CD. Put it in with the other CDs.
Put it with your files. Open the file cabinet and put it in the files.
But it was actually a big pain in my ass to get it all set up, because I'm talking on the software side. The photo one, not too bad. Neither of them shipped with USB cables. Okay. They expect you to be printing wirelessly. That's the default.
Oh, interesting.
Weird, right? Weird. I've gone to Nina's parents' house before, and they're like, "We can't print from the iPad to the printer. Can you help for the rest of the evening?" And yeah, and it's never. Then I'm like, that's the other thing. I don't want to be. It's one thing to go on somebody's office computer and try to get something up and running for them. Trying to troubleshoot on their iPad. An iPad is best. The best analogy it's like a toothbrush. It's yours. It's yours. That's not for sharing. That's not for, you know what I mean? Like iPads they get somebody else's schmutz all over the screen.
And just sign by dragging your bare finger across this thing I use to masturbate. Okay.
Like all of the authentication is deeply integrated into every app. So you launch an app, you're inside their life. You know, it's too much. It's too much. I don't want to be troubleshooting. You know, I don't want to be like, hey, can I like take your iPad and can I get like your 6-digit pin and break into it? And you know, I don't want to be trouble. Look, they're like toothbrushes. Okay. but one of them, yeah, it was like, you had to go through some kind of bundled software that installs like, because the LaserJet is a brother. You hooked on the brothers and, the brother, a brother. And the other one was an Epson. But the brother one, it was, you know, it bundles in all this fucking malware for printing. And, but like, it's all installed. It sees it. It knows its IP address. Everything's great. Everything's fine. And then you go to print and it's like, error.
The fuck you want from me?
Error. Well, what's the fucking error? Could not print. Simply could not print.
What is it? Would you want?
Because there's no logged. It doesn't tell you what's wrong.
It's like talking to a high friend.
So I go to GPT thinking it's going to be helpful, and it's like, oh gosh, let's go into the registry and let's delete some shit. And I'm like, come on, you're going to go into the deep registry for like a brand new printer. Then I Googled it. I hit a Reddit post, and the guy's like, you know what you have to do in Windows? Go to like Bluetooth and devices. Go to Add Device, even after you've installed everything. Click add device, and then it will find it, and then click, and then it will know. Then the operating system will know. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. But it also was a wake up call. I'm like, GPT is not a Google search. You know, it's not a. There's more real, active, like accurate information on the open internet sometimes.
Yeah, because it's just like it doesn't know some things. Like I was asking it questions about Demon Souls, the video game. But there's 2 Demon Souls. There's the original one for the PlayStation 3 and the remake for PS5. And for the life of it, it could not ever acknowledge that there were 2. And I was like, I think you're thinking of the original one. He's like, no, I'm not. Like, fuck you. You're thinking of the original one. He's like, no, this is right. This information's right. It's like, no, it's not right. Yeah, and then you have to ignore Google's AI on top too, because their AI fucks it up.
Yeah, sometimes I'm looking for like one of our videos. I'll be like, Red Cow Entertainment NES Top 10 or something, and it's like, Red Cow Entertainment and the Nintendo Entertainment System are not affiliated. However, knock it off. This is supposed to be a Google search. You fuck. I'm more AI than the average bear, and I've suffered greatly for it. But sometimes it pisses me off too.
Oh, and the paper jams. Cut me a break. That's bullshit.